Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Therapy of the Absurd Thanksgiving special edition.
It's oh so special. So special.
So
Just for you.
special. So, what's everybody's plans for Thanksgiving?
What?
Uh,
Oh, go for it, Dana.
Well, I plan to eat like I always do because despite the truth about Thanksgiving, my fondest memories are still time with family. My fondest memories are still the best fucking sweet potato pie from my grandmother who's not on the planet. The best, just all the all the goods. And the last thing I'll say, it is the one of two times a year that I break my whole no pork and I will eat ham. And that's that's what Thanksgiving is about for me. I look forward to going ahead and eating some ham because I eat it.
Honey ham, man.
Yes.
So on Thanksgiving you go ham.
Ooh. I do. That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I do. I go ham. Yeah. I go ham. Because there's good ham and people, this eating, I won't even pretend. And I got a new oven, I guess a couple months ago. And I hadn't baked in a while because our last oven, the stove worked, but then our oven igniter kept going out. And an igniter is an expensive part, like people want to know this, but the igniter is a bit expensive to replace. And we had already replaced it over the years 2 or 3 times. So I just got to the place where I was like, I'm not going to cuss too much, but fuck it. We're not going to keep replacing this $200 part because 2 or 3 replacements it could have been another stove. So anyway, I'm excited to be back in stride. And in my friendship circle, I am known as the pecan pie warrior. So yeah, I'm excited. Eating.
What about you? Who wants to go next?
Damn.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm not much I've always called Thanksgiving lunch meat day. Because you got like turkey and ham. That shit goes on an afternoon sandwich. And, not that I don't like it. It's just that's what I'm going to order when I'm at Jersey Mike's only. I don't think we're going to do much this Thanksgiving. Originally, my wife wanted to host it in our backyard, which is funny. It's in November. It's like, okay, cool. When it's cold, honey. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But I told her that next time we host a Thanksgiving for the family, there's fucking steak there. Because I want to be thankful. I want to be thankful of what I'm eating.
What kind of steak we talking? We talking Kobe?
Delicious.
I'm not that rich. Maybe some cowboy steaks from Stater Brothers, big old 2-inch thick ones,
No filet mignon.
But it's weird because I'm okay. So as fat as I am, I'm very picky sometimes, and Thanksgiving is when I'm really picky. There's that green bean stuff with the fried onions top. No, I'm skipping that. There's that stuff with all the marshmallows on top. No, I'm skipping that. There's that. What is that fucking thing over there? No, I'm skipping that. You know what? Give me meat, mashed potatoes, rolls. I think I'm done. Thanks. Bye. But I don't know.
Anybody in your family cook a specific dish that only gets cooked on Thanksgiving?
Well, my wife tends to make her grandmother's potato salad, which is a non-mustard potato salad, which is really good.
Is it seasoned, though?
I was going to say, it doesn't have raisins in it.
No.
God,
See,
I hope not.
It's none of that weird shit. It's just the straight up normal shit. It's got the right amount of eggs. Got the right amount. Yeah, maybe some carrots, but maybe just some. Because who needs that?
Salad?
Yeah. I'm saying potato salad.
You are brave, sir. You are brave. I salute you.
It's
delicious.
In the words of T'Challa, the Black Panther. Oh, hell no.
No, but potato salad, her potato salad is good.
Well, my ex, they made Michigan potato salad, right? And that's got huge chunks of tomato and cucumber.
Yeah, so that's you don't do that. What the fuck is that shit?
Here's the thing. I would be open to cucumber, but you cannot call it potato salad. That's my thing. My thing is just call it something else because this is not potato salad. If you want to call it cucumber potato with mustard mash and good green onions and good whatever. We could have a long name, but just don't call it potato salad because then I'm gonna have to hurt you.
Oh no, yeah, they would make it, and then I'd be like, "Oh wow!" And then out of nowhere, here comes my ex's mom with this big ass bowl of tomatoes and cucumbers all cut up. and I'm like, "What's that?" Michigan potatoes.
I thought it was
Oh,
funny
okay.
because my mom, like, she had it the first time, and she goes, normally isn't there mustard in this? And I said, you shut your mouth right now, mother. No, yeah, I didn't do that, but it's just funny that you bring that up.
There's no mustard.
No fucking mustard in the potato salad. Okay? We don't. Do you dip fries in mustard? No, you don't.
All I know is if there ain't no paprika in that potato salad, we got some problems.
There
I'm
it is.
sorry, dude.
I love deviled eggs. I cannot stand when I get deviled eggs and they have not sprinkled paprika on top of it.
Oh yeah, that pisses me off.
Yeah, you have to have it. That's the Mustaku of David.
They are, so call it something else. Just say that this is egg salad stuff. Whatever. Like it's not a deviled egg without paprika. What are you saying right now? Who are you right now? Like really?
Oh yeah, there's three ingredients that I have to have, and if they don't have it in there, then I got to put it myself. That's salt, pepper, and paprika. You give me those three things with the mayonnaise, we're good. Now my mom was super extra, so you didn't just get pepper, salt, and paprika. She was a garlic fiend. So you also got a lot of garlic.
Oh, man. A lot of garlic.
But I'll say this: garlic, I'm not mad at. Like I would like now if my grandmother's not on the planet, so food cooked the way that she cooked it. Like we're talking about someone who, when it came time for Thanksgiving and Christmas, we have dressing. Like so, I grew up with these interesting polarizing ideas. I was like, okay, well, what is stuffing? Stuffing must be what white people eat, and dressing is what black people eat. Because I don't even understand that concept. What do you mean breadcrumbs? What do you like? You like the fact that it doesn't come out in big hunks. The fact that you are not baking it in a tub like this. What? Who are you right now? What is that? And so, but my grandmother was the woman who, because she already cooked. Look at this. My grandmother already cooked cornbread on the regular. She already cooked like different things on the regular. This is the woman who, and I'm sure it was because of the remnants of things, like she saved the bread in. We looked forward to when it came time to make dressing.
Oh yeah.
All of it was in there. Every bread end that she had saved from every loaf, whether wheat or white, mostly white, because we weren't, it took a minute to wheat bread, all these things. And so dressing, oh my God, like when I go to people's houses, and some people, like if you spend time in New Orleans, which I have, so you have oyster dressing. It's okay. It's not, oyster is not necessary, but it's a different thing. But dressing is it's a thing. Like I don't even have the courage to try. Here's the thing, as someone who's been black all my life, I don't feel black enough to make dressing because my grandmother did it so well.
Now,
is it weird that I can't stand it when there's cranberries in
people
dressing?
like who are you right now? Like I don't even understand that when people,
I don't want raisins or cranberries in my stuff.
And I'm ghetto. I don't want cranberries, which I've seen. Please give me the can of Ocean Spray that we have opened.
Yes.
We take onto the thing, and it's got the grooves from the can until you slice it. Like
slice it. Just
right. Like all of the good health stuff goes down the toilet.
It's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving, man. Just give me my shit. How about you, Ed? Tell us.
Yeah.
What are some Thanksgiving?
Right, so excuse the delay because this. Excuse the delay because this feels like a CNN interview right now. Like I have to be like.
Do you do the traditional thing or do you
do
the
and
white
the reason for that is because.
No,
I mean we
now
do,
I see the delay.
We do a lot of unhealthy things.
Any tamales?
We do a lot of unhealthy things, and
I love tamales.
Yes, tons.
Literally,
like you have a surplus until like February.
Oh, you lucky bastard.
See that to me is better than turkey and ham. Is tamales like a whole?
I love tamales, dude. Oh, fuck.
Sorry,
continue. I'm sorry.
Salvadorians have their own style.
Papusas.
Mexicans have their own style. And Salvadorians they're a little bit more slimy. I like them anyway. I'll eat them. And then the Mexican style tamales are like more thick. They're chunky and they're just fat. They're just worse for your health, I guess. Other than that, I mean, there's a lot of drinking going on. I don't know how this year is gonna work out for my family
Mm-hmm.
because I got my mom's family that goes to Boyle Heights in LA, and then I got my wife's family that goes either to Pomona or Irvine, and we just had a coronavirus scare in the family, so I don't know how that's gonna work out. So we're gonna figure
Right.
that out.
That's why
That's gonna
we're
be
staying
interesting
in.
because nobody wanted to be touching food when they got the Rona. So
Oh
Right.
no, yeah, you
yeah,
know, I
and
have some family members that
don't
are
mind the
pretty
back,
crazy.
don't mind.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and don't the background. I know it's thumping because they have a 100% quinceañera across the street that I didn't get invited to, unfortunately. And
Is it a
they're acting over there
quinceanera
like
or is it an
there's no
infection
pandemic.
fest?
So
Say that again, Ed. I didn't hear the last part. Ed, I didn't hear the last part. Ed, say it again. Say it again. You said you don't know if it's a.
no. So they're having. We don't know if I didn't get invited across the street. I never do, and it sucks because they have the best food right there in that house. It's
Wow.
like they got this big ass yard in the front, and then the back. I'm sure they do fundraisers for whatever ranch in Mexico they raise money for. But they got like 4 tents in the front because rain or shine, the party is gonna happen. And I just saw a truckload of Modelo's in the truck bed,
Oh wow.
maybe like
Wow.
20 deep. So I think the party's gonna go to like 3 in the morning. And none of us call the cops. I mean, it's like, what are we gonna do?
Why?
Like, we're not gonna
Why
be
would you?
what's her name? Barbecue Becky. We're not gonna be that person. Yeah. Other than that, I
That's
mean,
right.
good times. Good
Oh
times.
yeah.
Good times.
But I don't understand why they don't invite you. Like I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm feeling some kind of way. Like that.
I'm hurt.
Why?
I'm hurt.
And because wherever there's good food, I think I should
And
be there. My goodness. Like,
It's because he has a podcast.
yeah,
Is that too
you
close to
know what
home?
it is? I'm pretty tight with them across the street. I'm pretty tight with them across the street, but I don't know what it is. I think it's an exclusive if you're not part of their like tribe, even though you're the same type of peeps, but like they're like, well, party's maxed out, are you on the list type of thing, and you got to go at the perfect timing was when everybody's drunk and you just show up with a 12-pack and automatically your family or your distant cousin.
right.
Ooh.
Okay.
I've done
Okay.
that numerous times.
Okay. All right. I guess
So
I just like
that's how you do it.
It's like crashing a redneck wedding. I could do that as long as I go late enough and when people are on the moonshine enough. Just yeah, you don't remember me? I am your cousin. You know what? You do look familiar. You look familiar.
Look like my sister's younger son.
All us
Come
bearded
Got a
white.
dirty mouth.
Yeah, you off like your mouth.
You
Come
know
on
how
back.
often that actually gets said on our show from my family that's commenting on? Dan's got a
Yeah,
pretty mouth.
yeah. That's your cousin, right?
It's been my cousin. It's
Yeah.
been other friends of mine. Just Dan's got a pretty mouth. No, I don't. This is what happens when you have 7 years of braces and you say, "Fuck it, I ain't gonna wear a retainer."
Oh my.
Just
Oh my
undo all that
Lord.
shit.
Nice. Are so those tamales though? Are they beef? They chicken? They pork? What kind of meat we
Beef
putting in
for
them
sure.
tamales?
Chicken definitely. Cheese and jalapenos in there for sure.
Ooh.
And then we have the sweet ones. And I don't like the fucking raisins in it, man. I'm with you guys on that shit.
I like
I complain
I like
about it
raisins, but I don't
every
like it
holiday
in
season.
I don't like it in certain food. You know what I mean? I'll eat a raisin oatmeal cookie with walnuts and chocolate chips. That's delicious.
Yeah,
Don't put it in my damn tamales. Don't put it in my potato salad. And keep
that's
the shit out of
different.
my damn
Yeah,
stuffing.
sure.
And you are better than me. I
Wow.
could not understand why oatmeal.
No, and then we make deviled eggs. Yeah.
Deviled eggs. I am like that is the national black church event snack. Like when I was growing up, anytime, especially when I was in Alabama before I moved to New Orleans, anytime there was a program after church, if there were refreshments, there was always those multicolored mints that looked like little pillows, and there was deviled eggs. Like, they weren't really trying to serve you a full-on but there was always some little protein. Now, and now I look back, they were just trying to give us a little dose of protein, but it was just trays upon trays of deviled eggs. You get the celery sticks, but the deviled eggs, man. All those the women of my church, Union Chapel Missionary Baptist Church in Huntsville, Alabama. That's the deviled eggs, man. That's all I can say. The deviled eggs.
Well, when I was a little kid, if I went to some event that had those little pillow mints, I ate that shit till I was sick.
I love it. There were ones that were the multicolored ones, and then that had like this green gel inside of it. They looked pretty interesting. I was like, okay, we'll eat those too. Yeah. And I am candy corns. Like I was watching Amanda Seale, the great, comedian actress, and she was just like, I have a thing for, I do everything else right, but I've got a thing. And she unboxed, like Brock's had sent her like a assorted thing of all types of candy corns. Cause I'm like, I like the chocolate ones. Obviously we like the classic the best, the yellow, the orange, and the white. Like that's the classic. That is, but candy corns is just something I'm gonna probably go. I'll probably break my quarantine just to go get some, candy corns from this.
Well, if candy corn was more like its namesake, it would also be a tracer food, but it's not.
Right, that's true. And thank God. That's all I can say is thank God for that.
So here we go. We have Thanksgiving and Black Friday holiday episode. Therapy of the absurd.
Now, wait a minute. Can someone explain to me just real quick, why is it called Black Friday again? What's going on with that?
As far as I know, it's basically
it's a retail thing.
Yeah.
But why Black Friday? Now, I don't know.
As far as my understanding, it's something that got added much later.
Because blackout, anything having to do with making sales transactions it's like a rolling blackout, what it was. And then
okay.
What happened, the lines got crossed, man, and they made it about fucking some other shit. I was like, oh fuck, like we can't say that.
So it started in Philadelphia back in the 50s, right? Police in the city of Philadelphia used the term to describe the chaos that ensued the day after Thanksgiving when hordes of suburban shoppers, tourists flooded into the city. And so they just felt like this was the best way to kind of and it's actually something that the police came up with. And so the other thing is that it's
wow.
People typically think that it's this idea that companies are going in the black because of all of this, not showing any loss on this day, but it really just has everything to do with how the police felt about, what was happening the day after Thanksgiving in Philadelphia. Now they do date back the first Black Friday in 1869, but I think it was just had a lot to do with financial panic, all these things, but pretty much what we deal with is this term out of Philly. Like these other associations, I think it just, in looking at the history of it, because I, just trying to always make sense of this stuff. Because, of course, for us as Black people, they'll tell you that everything is it because we're Black? Like it has something to do with some negative, connotation. And so many things are, but certainly not Black Friday.
You have to wonder if the police came up with it.
Right. But here's the thing. And I think, based on what I was just, again, when I was doing the research on my own thing, it was just the police didn't really come up with it. It's just that the way that we call it Black Friday now, because the term has been around since 1869. It had an iteration in 1929, which was part of the Great Depression and part of the crash of the market, 2930s, which launched us into the Great Depression. But the one that we're talking about in the broadcast has more to do with how the police took the term to reappropriate on how they felt about what was going on day after. So if that makes sense. So it's been a progression of ideas.
Yeah. So what we got here, it says, are we giving thanks to our loved ones or corporations? Mm-hmm. Let Thanksgiving and Black Friday begin. Are you going to spend quality time with family or shop till you drop, sleep in your bed, or camp out front of Best Buy, Walmart, and Target? But it has been confirmed this year due to Corona that I would say 99.9. Well, okay, maybe not exactly 99.9%, but I'm sure it's pretty close. You can only shop online and have them, you can pick it up and they can place it in your car and mail it to you. But they will not be letting as you see in the pictures, that happening in a store this year.
Well, apparently it's already kind of trended that way over time. Like if you've been
Yeah.
watching, like the pictures you got here, this is like, to me, 5 years, 6 years back. It was like this. This was what they'd show on the news all the time. It was like this. And then they came out with Cyber Monday,
Right.
which started halving the amount of sales to Monday. And
Right.
then what happened? They started doing Black Friday all month long online, even before Corona. And that started bringing down the crowds also. Like the last few times that my wife and I have gone on Thanksgiving, like we leave the kids with the parents to actually go and see what's at a couple stores for a couple hours.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
You know, I say the kids with the parents, with the grandparents. We're the parents. I forget that now and then, and that's why they get stuck in the car.
The
Anyway,
straight old people.
But we've gone and it's just been relatively calm. Like, you know, no one's pushing each other. There's not hordes of people. But in the very beginning, yes, my wife and I used to run past a few things and go, "Why are we here? We're
Yeah.
insane."
Well, you know what it is too is it depends on the year a lot of times too, and what's releasing close to that holiday. Like this year is going to be extra crazy, and that's why a lot of places have been making it clear now for almost a month. Do not come to the store. If you didn't order it online, do not come here. We're not selling it to you, right? Because PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox come out this coming new week. Xbox on the 10th, PlayStation 5 on the 12th of November. And so the stuff that I've been
Oh,
reading
that's right.
online from all the stores, they're getting like harassed hard. So, I don't know how this is going to turn
Damn.
out, man. But, when there's stuff like that that's in demand, mind you, PS4 sold over 100 million units, not all at once. Not all at once.
Right.
But PS5 did break a record recently, which is going to coincide with Black Friday, which is crazy because within less than 48 hours, PS5 pre-orders that weren't even announced sold over 2 million. That's insane.
They're trying to beat their PS2 record.
Damn.
You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
By the way, like with how freaking stupid so much of this country is, I'm surprised there hasn't been. Oh yeah, it was. With how freaking stupid so many of the Americans are, I'm surprised that they don't have just Russian guys on the street going, "It's a PlayStation 5. Why not buy from me? It's just as good. Here, take."
Oh my lord. How much is it? Oh, $250.
It's a fucking deal. Look at it. Box is good.
But sir, it says P what? Why is the 5 spelt out?
Right. Right.
Isn't it supposed no? And some are
God, that's
comparing,
so good.
that type of consumerism almost to like being a zombie, really, like consumer zombies. So, that you got this, what is it? A Target. Yeah, it's Target opening up. I mean, look at the elation on this lady's face. It's like she just won the fucking lotto.
Oh, you talking about this one on the right?
I don't know, man. There's
No,
some
so there's the two.
oh yeah.
The
In
two
the front.
excited ladies on the right. But what's funny to me is there's a black guy in the front with that face that looks like he hears them going, "Fucking white people."
Probably, yeah, hey man, it's possible. It's possible. And it might be raining because one person does have an umbrella in the background, but nobody else has a fucking umbrella. It's like they're not in the right mind. It's
Well,
crazy, I would never, I want a lot of stuff, but I'm not gonna like run over somebody to fucking get it. And that's brutal, man. Some people have died. What do you think about that, Ed?
Uh-oh. Did we lose? Oh.
Well, you guys can hear me, right? There's still a crappy ass delay.
No, you're good.
I'm here. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's shitty when it rains here. It's garbage when it rains here. But anyway, okay. So and I'm here.
Okay.
And one thing I learned from working at Walden Books, I worked at Radio Shack. That was a fucking nightmare. I worked at Singular Wireless AT&T, and then Sprint, and then I sold fucking karaoke machines for a whole year, and the company's still there. What I learned is that nothing is going to stop a human being from getting what they want, either drugs, alcohol, whatever you want, and consumer electronics.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is about the gaslighting, the coercion, the marketing, the ad placement, all that. I don't know what it is, but after watching Donald Trump for the last 4 years, I figured it out. It's slogans, it's coined phrases, it's anything. It's like a rumor. You keep repeating it over and over, someone's bound to believe it. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember clearly, Black Friday in November of 2007, the iPhone came out, and I sold that motherfucker. And we had people getting robbed in the parking lot. We had
Ooh.
Lupillo Rivera, who's a big Mexican singer, cut in front of the line because he bribed the management staff of Montebello with $1,000 to get in front of the line to get his first iPhone. And
Wow.
it's ironic because when you first got that first iPhone, you had to unbrick it at home in iTunes and select a rate plan in the iTunes app on your desktop.
Oh wow.
Other than that, I saw the chaos of Victoria's Secret with women, and that was fucking crazy because I
I used to
saw
work there.
people being body slammed into the lingerie section.
Oh yeah. I
Good,
used
good.
to,
Wait.
It was insane.
So there's nobody like sitting there going, "Hey, you two girls want this bra and panty set? You willing to mud wrestle for it?"
oh Lord. No, I'll tell you what. When I worked there on Black Friday, because I worked in the storeroom and I had to fix all the lingerie. I had to restock all the shelves with the lotion, the sprays, all everything. You name it, I had to do it. And I remember stocking the shelves, man, and I just could not stock them fast enough. Stuff would just be going like crazy for hours, And I'd say Black Friday was my worst. One of my worst work experiences was when I was working at Target, and this guy came in, and it was the year that the
Oh
yellow
shit!
Pokemon came out for Game Boy, I believe it was Color, yellow Pokemon, and we just sold the last one, right? And he looked at me and he's like, "You're gonna get me that yellow Pokemon, or we're gonna talk about it when you get off work in the parking lot." And I just looked at him, and I didn't. I had to double take. I was like, what did he say?
Did he say that? That's what he said.
Yeah, I swear on everything. And I looked at my coworker and I go,
What
"Did
the
he just say
fuck?
did he just say what I thought he said? Like he's gonna beat my ass if I don't got his wait. Is that what he said? My buddy was like, yeah, no, bro. He said basically, and I just looked at the guy and I said, you know what? I work at Target. I'm not Target, and we just sold the last one. And I was like, I had as much compassion as I could have for the guy, but what could I do? Like, was I supposed to psychically know he was coming and not sell it to the last guy? Like,
He's threatening to whip your ass. Like, fuck him. Like, what the hell? Like,
oh yeah, and
I would
then
have clocked
his
out.
last thing.
Meet me in the parking lot.
right.
Oh, this dude is big.
Hey, what could you imagine though if he wasn't meaning to whip your ass? What he was meaning to do is like you get out there and he's dressed like Ash Ketchum and he throws a ball at your feet. All right, go, Charmander.
Oh man, that'd have been mental on another level. But the fact that he said that, I was just like, wow, and I was like, you know what? I said, I only work here. I don't make a lot of money. Sorry that happened to you. I have no control over it. And then he went off on his little thing again. And I said, you know what? Let me get my manager, right? And my manager didn't want to be bothered, but I didn't give a shit. I wasn't getting paid enough to leave his ass alone. So I
Right.
went up to him and I was like, this gentleman over here is getting irate and crazy. He's threatening to beat me up in the parking lot because apparently I represent the reason why we ran out, and I am Target, and so I need to pay. I was like, I don't know how you want to handle this, but I don't think I can. I think I'm gonna take my 15-minute break.
Right.
He's like, This is about Pokemon, right? Where's that made? Japan? I'm going to find the first Japanese-looking guy, and I'm going to give him shit about it.
He better give me my Pikachu.
Right?
But anybody else deal with any of that kind of crap working on a Black Friday, or any family or friends that had to tell you about that kind of chaos?
Never had the misery. My days of retail were Banana Republic in the mid 90s, and and we weren't, let me see, were we open on Black Friday? We probably were, but typically I am, being a woman from Alabama, wherever I was living, DC, we would travel. So I've never had that opportunity. And I've never, like, as I watched any of it, I think one time did I go when the Walmart was open in LA in the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. I remember going in there that day, but that was in the years of what Dan is talking about. And this was actually even before the last 5 years, because Ali was very small. But they had started to get to the place where the deals either lasted all day. They'd gotten to the place where the deals would last a couple of days. Target was one of the first places where whatever the deals were, they wouldn't just be for that day. Because I remember getting my crock pot, getting a few things. But I remember going to like that Walmart, and it was bananas. And I was just like, but yeah, I have to say, my hat goes off to your former self, Stefan, for that right there. Cause that's unimaginable.
Yeah.
Real, but like not my experience. Thank God.
My boss had a similar experience when I worked at GameStop, and that was the year. I don't remember what it was that came out. Something came out. I think it was PS3 or something, but I was there when one of the systems released. And that's honestly, if you work Black Friday like this year, similar to this year, minus people going in stores, obviously, well, most stores, and you were around when some major electronic device came out, or some major games that were linked to something being released, and you ran out, man, parents were coming in, coming in hot.
Coming in feeling some kind of way. Wow.
Oh yeah, they're already in a bad mood the moment they walked in, because you knew when they looked at you. This was before the story and the myth of Karen. In a time of Karen and COVID, people were coming in. Oh, so you don't have that system or that game, huh? Well, this is the 10th store I've been to, and we were like, oh shit, it's about to happen.
Right.
This is the 10th store I've been to. Well, it sucks to be you. Get the fuck out of my store.
Oh yeah, and then my boss would take me back. You think you can handle this one? Because I just did five. I just did five, bro. 5 of them.
It's like, hey, this is the 10th store we've been to. Well, it sounds like you have a problem.
Little
you
Johnny.
go to a psychiatrist now.
And you're still going to stores.
Oh yeah, it's like little Johnny may not get his PS3 this year. That's too bad, And my boss, he brave for being a dude who was like 5'2" or 3, dude. Brave. His big, the both parents are there. They're big people. You can tell they were not starving. They told him, flat out, we're gonna come back in a few days, and you better have what we want, or we're gonna have words. And I looked at my boss, he looked at me, and he looked at him, and he goes, how about next year you shop earlier? And the guy was about to do something, but the wife held him back.
Yeah.
And then she looked at my boss and goes, no, you're right, we're sorry. And then they left.
So the problem might have been back then is, you remember the Sopranos were out, like back during so a lot of people watching Tony Soprano goes, I know what to do. I've seen Tony Soprano. I know how to get what I want. I'm going to go in and threaten this guy.
Oh man, that's on the regular. That's why, man, anytime I go, I don't run, and I talk very respectfully and calmly, and as I expect everyone to do out there. When it comes to things like this, treat the people behind the counter with some goddamn respect. They deserve it.
Yes.
They're there earning a living with shitty wages. Most places won't even give them the 40 hours to get the goddamn benefits. So, the least you could do is be respectful, not get angry at them, not throw a tantrum in front of them like a 5-year-old when you're like 50 or however the hell old you are, 18, 25, 50. I don't care. Have some class, be respectful. They don't get paid enough to deal with that bullshit.
No, they don't.
No. I think like anybody, we all get disgusted with it. Like when you just hear about people being killed, because that started to happen. There was that that we went through. And I think a story that sticks out to me is like in New Jersey or somewhere where Walmart it happened, and like an employee, like an Ethiopian immigrant, was killed. And like,
That's the one that got stampeded on, right?
right.
Ooh, what a horrible way to die. One of the worst ways to die.
Just like that's. I was talking to this group. We were talking about the election and this great outcome that we're experiencing. And I was just saying that the only thing that my dad is 86, so he's seen a lot, and he was so, he was just very emotional. We all were very today. But I told the group in jest, though, I was like, but my dad still believes that capitalism is like, I don't think he necessarily thinks that capitalism is or isn't bad, but his understanding of the alternatives is so like it's just not expanded or evolved. And I don't necessarily like I'm not necessarily here for convincing my beloved dad of too much. They're just like because at the end of the day, because he's not some hardcore Republican, he's not some African American who is Republic, like I don't have any of that to deal with.
Yeah.
I think he's probably just very stuck in what he believes and what he grew up understanding. And there's this place with all, and I say this in love and respect, that it makes sense to him. Like it makes sense that we are a capitalist nation. It makes sense to him. And this idea that the great African American philosopher Cornel West, I had a discussion with him once, and I said, I believe that democracy and capitalism were ways to build a nation, but they are not ways to sustain a nation. If you want it to have long life and for people to evolve into wonderful, caring, humane individuals. I mean, and I'm still not taking into account, the myths of Thanksgiving that we're about to discuss, but just this idea that that good thinking people don't know it another way, and to dare to reimagine it as something else seems so foreign that they're just not even there, because the idea that I'm just like, well, if it's not working, let's just stop doing that. Now, stopping doing it has got a lot of steps. It's got a lot of steps, but we could do something different. We don't have to keep sloshing around in this one trying to make this one work when its time has run out. Its time is really up. But it's just funny when we talk about capitalism. We are this nation philosophically, ideologically, when it comes to a Black Friday, as the best example, is what it created itself to be. Who is the biggest, fastest, started from the bottom. Now we here, which is again a great idea when we're all still at the very bottom. But when we do start making gains, are we still going to be fighting with that level of vehemence and momentum as though we were all still at the fucking bottom?
Yeah. This is why they need to enact that thing that Andrew Yang was fighting for. Do you remember what it's called, Dan?
Universal basic income.
Yeah, because that would also help retailers a lot, because you'd have people in there who normally have the money to partake.
But so that's the whole thing. So my issue with the universal basic income, I know it's kind of a tangent, but I'll just say it real quick, is I see universal basic income as, let's say you had a heroin addict, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of heroin to make it till your next paycheck. Because money is the worst fucking drug that has ever burn the people of this world. It really does make people act like a drug. And really the big problem is getting rid of our dependence on money and coming up with some sort of system between us where it's not something, well, how to say it? It's not something that rewards sociopathy like money does. Unfortunately, that's what it does.
Yeah.
Is Ed stuck?
Ed. Well, the only thing is, though, like as you said, like until we come up with something, I think the challenge though is money is not the root of evil, whether you're quoting the Bible or not. It's not the root. Like it's simply a currency and a barter system that over time people decided and agreed upon that this is how we would exchange for goods and services. And so greed is the problem, not money.
I've often said power is the root of all evil, and it's just that money is power right now.
It could be, but I think like I understand most of those conversations, especially Andrew Yang, all of that. As I watched the trajectory of it, just came out of the push and definitely in the African American community for those who have propelled a great movement for reparations in its 50th iteration. People think that it's just that it's a new conversation. But for those of us who've been, fighting and on the front lines and reading and supporting those who've looked at it for quite some time, we know that it's not. But that said, until the way that you move forward in this country is a cashless transaction, I think that even looking at money as a reward is a luxurious way to look at it when is that if that's what we're trading and that's how you get ahead, capital, land, all these things, again, ideas that predate all of our existence, even on the planet, then I understand if you're going to work within the system to have ideas about how to propel people forward, you're going to still base it on the currency and whatever we're doing. If you say, okay, well, money is like giving a heroin addict like a taste, I think that's one way to look at it, but I don't think it's as broad as we need to go when we look at goods and services and just basics like your food. And even if I wasn't trying to buy the latest Birkin bag, if I need a purse and I just want a basic bag in this country, as it stands, it's still going to take cash to go do that. And because we're not, on farms bartering, then I'm still like some of my friends. I do have friends that do farm to table and go places and go to co-ops and get their eggs and those things that way. But I'm still going to Ralph's where this is how we get down at Ralph's or Sprouts or wherever.
Well, I guess another way to look at it though is that it's like if we give people the universal basic income, they're going to have more money, so they're just going to raise prices on us. That's the actual problem, is that we've had this runaway inflation for a long time.
Who's the they? Because is the universal basic income for citizens or for corporates and corporations? So what are you saying?
Well, as things have become more conglomerated and just into giant companies that basically own the most amount of wealth out there in the world, that's the they. They're the ones who are doing the price setting amongst each other to raise prices and to keep inflation going at the rate it is. It really doesn't have to go that way. It's not like it's a natural thing. And that's actually the problem is that if we start giving people $2,000 a month, they're going to raise prices. So now you need $3,000 a few months after that. And that's really the issue. I don't know how we would fix it, by the way. Okay. I don't have a solution. Okay. That is the problem I see, is that the prices are raising faster than the amount of money that people make. And we've got to figure out something to do about that, because then just giving people money isn't going to fix that. They'll go, oh, they have more money, charge them more, just like the pharmaceutical companies.
Right. But we agree it's a tangent. I think the other thing that then we want to consider is I think you have to figure out where it ends before you start giving out the money. I think because everything you're saying, to its degree makes sense. But I think if people still have basic needs and the basic needs aren't met and we have an idea that could do it, that notwithstanding, then everybody has to sit at the table and say, hey, but let's do it over a certain amount of time. Let's set parameters. Let's imagine a way that we can make that work. So for me, I can only say for me to say that it's not a good idea because of these other things, then there just isn't a plan. That's all I'm hearing, that there's not a plan for how long do we give the money? If we stair step the money, allowing for these things, and at that, something you brought out that was then powerful, like the powers that be are going to do these things, then everybody has to be regulated. So to me, it just sounds like what he has is the beginning of an idea, not the end of an idea. And before I would strike it down as this bad idea, I would say, but there are just more pieces that we're going to have to put in place for this to work. And unless we are committed to accomplishing and executing those other things, then we need to hold up before starting to give out these checks until everything is in place that will support the whole thing. But I think I remember hearing about it, but again, there's a whole other conversation that I'm generally having about reparations. And so I get it. And I think that, again, that just came out of the idea that there's a fight for reparations and people feel the way that they do when they hear the word. And then there's always this idea that if this group is saying reparations, there's always this, well, but so-and-so needs such and such too. But we're talking about two different sets of deficiencies and needs that are concluding out of that came about two different ways. Their solutions are not alike. So for me, I would have an issue with his idea only because you're just trying to avoid the idea that there could possibly be a minority group that needs something different than everybody else. And instead of dealing with the possibility of a backlash from what other people are saying for giving this group something, you're just saying, if we just give everybody $1,000, that will fix it. And that,
oh no, yeah, it's definitely not going to fix everything.
and that will not, for even the reasons that you said, Dan, if that's the only part of the idea, but so much even bigger than all of that.
My solution would be how GameStop used to screw me, but it wouldn't screw those people. If we're trying to avoid certain things, certain things being how would I say it? If we're trying to avoid people using it on things that maybe the mass population would not like to see the money go towards, what GameStop did, and I'm sure they still do it. I don't think they've changed. Most companies don't, and they change very slow. But we'd get paid literally on a damn card. So they could put the $1,000 on a card because there's no drug dealer gonna swipe that and get money, right? And that it only works at those maybe 20 retailers. So there's no way that they can get drugs with it. It's not possible. However, I'm sure that somebody would find a workaround. That's always possible. That with anything though, right? Somebody could say, "Hey, you give me the $500 camera, you can have all the heroin you want." Yeah, I mean, we can't. There's no way to prevent that. But at least there would be one little, tiny, but one little hurdle, to maybe sway some people that aren't as smart to do that. I don't know.
We have a lot of complex issues to fix, but that said, I think there's just so many to pieces to all the puzzles, and
yeah. But at the end of this slideshow, definitely, like we said before, we just want to really respect the people who are working, folks.
Amen.
And make sure we just remain calm, and understand they do not get paid enough to deal with our bullshit.
Right.
And in fact, like if you think about it, what is getting paid enough to deal with any bullshit?
Okay.
Like I could,
the existential question of life, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this guy makes 75 grand a year. I think you could take some bullshit. Can you get on the floor and crawl around and bark like a dog? It's like, for 75 grand? Oh man, that sucks. I mean, it's just, like you work your ass hard. Like that would be kind of funny. Like, nobody gets bullshit until you make a certain amount of money. So, you work really hard to start taking bullshit.
Oh yeah, man. When I worked at Activision, I was like, man, this is going to be an easy job. This is going to be so easy. And the guy's like, hi, everybody, and this, and this. And he's like, oh, and by the way, we're oh, God, what was it called? It was a special kind of grind that you had to work, crunch time. So if you don't know what crunch time is on a video game, you got to definitely look it up. It's insane.
Yes.
Very similar to what other people do in other companies as well. But we were in one of those because we were finishing, I believe it was Dave Mirra BMX2 for PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Game Boy, I think. And so I was working like 60 plus hours a week, and I wasn't used to that at that time. So my mom, I'd get home. She's like, did you eat dinner? I said, I had to get it before me and my buddy got on the freeway. So when I got home, I could shower and go to bed. She's like, really? You're just going to shower and go to bed? I'm like, yeah, I got to be there tomorrow morning, like 7:30, 8 a.m. And then I'm not going to be able to leave until late.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And the paychecks were nice, but by the time we even got one day off, I was dead to the world. I didn't want to do anything.
It's kind of funny how that mentality goes. When I worked for the old studio, I remember going, oh man, I'm going to be working, 8 16-hour days in a row. And one of the bosses saying, yeah, but your wife's going to see that paycheck and she's going to be so happy. And I go, really? Because what she tells me is she misses me.
That speaks to your point earlier. So like, I mean, we know it, that it's out there, this valuation of money that's not, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It tends to sometimes get into anti-humanistic territory with how much we rely on it.
Right.
That's basically it.
So we definitely want to show some local talent for everyone to see. We have
here.
Here. See and hear.
Smell.
Yes.
We figured out the technology.
Smells funny, Dan. I don't know. Can you smell that? Dana, can you smell the funny?
It smells like mustard in my potato salad.
Oh Lord!
I like a little mustard in my potato. That's kind of like
little. Yeah, it's not bad. Just no raisins, please. No cranberries.
Yeah. No.
Don't do that.
Cranberry, but not in a potato salad. Like that doesn't go together. That's like hidden, like that doesn't go together.
No milk duds. None of those.
But you guys are gonna love these jokes. These comedians graced us with some amazing, funny stuff to celebrate the holiday. So enjoy.
Have y'all seen what the CDC has to say about Thanksgiving gatherings? All right, well, listen up, because you need to be prepared. All right, here are the rules. Rule number 1, cook your own food. Rule number 2, bring it to the person's house with your own dishes, your own utensils. And rule number 3, when you are eating, your ass better be outside eating. So basically, just pretend like it's Thanksgiving every year for every vegan up in here. Because that's how they get you. And it's rough. Vegans get it rough. It's like, this is our karma year. Because last year, I had a Friendsgiving, and I ain't even gonna lie, we didn't even invite our vegan friend till it was time for the movie. But that's the point. I'm from the South. Where I'm from, everything we make, it got meat in it. The lemonade got meat in it. I'm telling you, my friends ate that lemonade. They was like, girl, you done put your foot in this. I said, I showed did. But they're one of the strongest people, because for me, food is for comfort. Like when I feel mad, I eat a donut. They can't do that. My friend hit me up. I'm like, girl, how you doing? She said, I'm feeling depressed and I'm dealing with severe loneliness. I was like, well, did you eat? She said, she was like, yeah, girl, I had me some avocado toast.
Oh no.
I need you to take that avocado toast and dip it in some whiskey, because unless you eat bacon.
Well, guys, I'm half Amish. And at like Thanksgiving and stuff, half my family is Amish. And this year, my aunt, who is not Amish, decided that we should all dress up as pilgrims for Thanksgiving. Aunt Teeny, half our family already does. Every day. I think it'd be weird to dress up as them.
Hi, I'm Phyllis from Philadelphia. Do you know who's never hungry on Thanksgiving? The turkey. He's stuffed. If your great-grandmother saw you making boxed mashed potatoes, she'd turn over in her gravy.
Hi! It's almost Thanksgiving, which is so exciting. Because after that family nightmare is over, it's Black Friday. Who was the marketing genius that named it something so depressing? Oh, hey, do you think we should name our big sale the Black Death? Already taken. Oh, you think we should name it Black Friday? There's nothing depressing about Black Friday. Yes, I've heard all the horror stories over the years. 117 people injured, pepper sprayed, stabbed, crushed, yada, yada, yada. Oh, right, and 12 people died. Those people died doing what they loved. You want depressing? In Florida, 2 people shot each other over a parking space. They never even made it into the mall. Tragic. No deals for them. Well, the stories are so thoughtful. They're just upping earlier and earlier because they want to accommodate the crowd no matter how big, how violent. There's always room for more. They used to open up at 6, but then Sears was like, we'll open up at 5 a.m. And Toys R Us, 4 a.m. And Target was like, midnight. And everybody's like, whoa. But Walmart, of course Walmart said, we can beat that. It's like, how? Like 12 a.m. is literally the moment Black Friday starts. We'll open up at 8 p.m. Thanksgiving Day. They called it Brown Thursday. Okay, that sounds like what happens after you ate one too many yams. But the thing is, I am so terrified that they were going to cancel Black Friday. Because it's 2020, we have lockdown, and everybody's in the red. Well, at least it won't be red, won't be the reds spilling out of trampled shoppers. And even Walmart probably doesn't want to be known as causing more deaths than COVID. But newsflash, they're not canceling it. They don't care. Nobody cares if Walmart's statistically the most dangerous place you can be on earth at Black Friday. They have the best deals. Fuck Disneyland, I'm going to Walmart. Happy bargain hunting.
I am pretty sure Thanksgiving is the most American holiday. And it has nothing to do with the Pilgrims making friends with the Native Americans, being saved. It's all about the gluttony. There is nothing more American than overeating.
This Thanksgiving, your Aunt Millie's guilt trip actually came true. Would it kill you to come home for the holidays? Yes. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, I won't be able to fly to LA to be with my boyfriend for Thanksgiving. I'm sad to miss sharing Thanksgiving with him, especially the stuffing. There'll be a brand new treat served on Thanksgiving tables this year. A dessert showered with love and Aunt Millie sneezes. Pandemic pie. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. So here at Therapy the Absurd, we are excited to have our first Thanksgiving as a team on our podcast. But we also thought it was important to talk about the Thanksgiving myth. I personally think that most people know that it's bullshit, but let's talk about some of it. There's oh my gosh, world of people. There's too much bullshit at play to even go into all of it, but we're gonna look at some of the slides and we're gonna go from there. So let's talk about probably the biggest, most popular. What do we have first? The menu. So we all celebrate with turkey, and turkey is not what they served at the first one.
Was it steak?
It wasn't steak. We're gonna actually get to the slide of what it was. It wasn't turkey though. Turkey is an American tradition. So first of all, the idea of Thanksgiving comes from days of thanks that came from the UK and from Europe. They were days to thank God. And Thanksgiving was never, how do you say? I mean, we're going to get into all of why it's this day, all these things. But I think the biggest key to understand is to understand that it was a day of thanks that didn't necessarily have anything to do with turkey or other than food. It just didn't have anything to do with that. And so this idea that it was something that that you do came much later. It came after, and we'll talk about who declared it a national holiday. We'll talk about that, but it just came much later. So the first menu really was waterfowl, which I have a picture of, venison, which we have in its raw form, lobster, clams, berries, fruit, pumpkin, and squash. And so I think we can all basically, ascertain that things like pumpkin, and then maybe some homes, squash still, we still see themes around that. Even one of the backgrounds we have today has like the pumpkin, which I think it must be a holdover from Halloween. Who knows? Another made up situation as well. But,
well, it kind of makes sense, right? Like the gourds are coming into season at a certain time, so they're ready by that time, right?
By that time, but also, and it would be an autumn thing because also know that the days of thanks, as they were originated in Europe, were in September. It was a decision of our country, which we'll get to come up with this Thursday idea, and we'll talk about where Thursday came from. But also the food is reflective of the fact that we were, colonies that were next to water. Because I was just like lobster and clams, but that makes sense because these are the delicacies that were, fastest available being next to water and being next to bodies of water and all of these things. So
we're going to have a lot of lobster.
Right. And
It's gonna be good.
Thank you. So to me though, it's not a bad menu. Like I'm cool on the waterfowl and I'm cool on venison because I don't personally eat red meat. But the rest of it doesn't sound miserable. Lobster. I don't really eat clams, but that's just me. But lobster, berries, fruit, pumpkin, and squash, those are all things that I deal with. So not a bad idea, but it just is so different from how we celebrate. We were just having a conversation about potato salad and dressing and stuffing, and they have berries here, but we make a big deal out of cranberries, which is a cranberry sauce. So this was the first menu. So to anybody who's just trying to grapple with, the turkey came about because once we decided in this country that it was a feast day, then that became kind of the animal that represents the idea that it's a feast day, not necessarily an iteration of 1621 when this is alleged to have actually begun. All right.
Sorry, I was a little late on that next slide. I didn't know the next slide was the one that had the list you were going over: waterfowl, venison, lobsters, clams, berries, fruit, pumpkin, and squash.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I was actually looking at my screen, not the stream. I don't even know what I did. I must have typed something.
That's all right.
At my slide. So this is the slide I was on. Well, now I've already talked about it all. So I guess.
So venison, for those of you who don't know, is deer.
Right.
It's Bambi's mom.
So so the pictures I have, because I didn't necessarily want to put up a deer, that's just me. I put up the waterfowl because I think people know fowl is bird and blah blah. But so the pictures I have, honestly, like if I didn't know it was deer and I was still eating red meat, it looks tasty. Like to me, like it looks tasty. Like it's probably a little more rare than I would like in the cooked picture. Like it's, but I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, but I would spend Christmases way, way down in South Alabama where my grandfather, his brothers, they were still hunting deer. So very much, I didn't have an interest in deer because I understood eating chicken. I understood eating turkey, but animals that were, say, from like the cartoons, like there was an idea that there is a line between the animals that I spectate, that I watch, as opposed to the animals that I eat. And all of it, as we get a certain place, you're like, all of them were animals that we watched. We were all good with chickens when I was learning my ABCs. But, this idea that I'm eating the chicken that I'm friendly with is a whole nother matter. So in my head, there was this segregation of like hunted game. In my mind, I know they hunted deer, but I wasn't going to eat it. I know that they hunted possum, but I wasn't going to eat that either. I know that they hunted raccoon, but I was not going to eat that. So I look at the venison now, and when you give it the fancy name of venison and you don't say it's just deer, and you have it, it does look appetizing. It's just that I know what it is. So,
well, wild game, other than the wild boar, you do not want to do medium well or well. It will ruin the taste of it. I'm not so much into venison. I do like buffalo. In buffalo, you don't want to overcook. So
I have a question. When one says ruin the taste, but you have to like the taste to know that you're ruining the taste, right? Like,
well, when I say ruin the taste, maybe it's also a texture thing, because if you overdo wild game, it tends to be very tough. It tends to be like,
Now that makes sense to me, because once it does, I agree with the texture issue. So to everybody, this was the first menu that laid down what was eaten.
I tried venison long time ago. One of my uncles is a hunter,
and
he got a snake. He got us venison. I don't remember all the other animals, but there was so many different things I tried. And when somebody says, "Oh, this tastes really gamey,"
right?
Like there's a very distinct taste to it. It doesn't taste like the stuff you buy in the store.
Yeah. I mean, even when I've had venison that's supposedly done right, I was not so much into it. I'd like to actually dispel another myth, by the way. People who say that eating bugs is disgusting, but you like lobster, shrimp, and crabs, you eat bugs.
Yeah, those are just big bugs. They're all crustaceans, but yeah. Like I love crawfish. I don't mess with the other ones too much. Lobster is just honestly
crawfish
expensive. But when I looked at it, the menu makes sense. So that's the menu. But we'll still have to get to the part, where we talk about this day in all its iterations. All right.
Like here?
So this is okay. So this slide, this is just a send up. I'll be very frank with you. Like, I want everyone to just think about the idea that there were people in this land that we call North America, this land, for 12,000 years before Columbus got here. Like, just to me, if anyone can really, really think about that. And so if you really think about that, there were people after people after people after types of people here before these other people came from Europe on boats and decided that they would find these crafty ways to take the land. And so I just really want everyone to understand, whatever you think you know, add this to the toolbox, that there were people here, not just, I mean, because there's these ways that people think that we all, me included, we think we're woke because we're like, well, we know that there were people here for Columbus and da 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 da. But when I saw 12,000 years, I was like, whoa. Because all of the propaganda, even when they have led up and opened up to the idea that Native Americans were here, if you study hard enough, Ivan Van Sertima, Olmecs, people from Mexico, like, whatever. But so you're still thinking centuries, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not, in my mind, when I saw 12,000, I was like, that's not a few hundred cents. Like, that's,
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to be, whatever conversation you have, when you say, I want to educate my family about the myths around Thanksgiving, I want everyone to understand that they didn't just come before Columbus. They came way before Columbus. Do you know what I'm saying?
They were like, Columbus who? No, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I mean, that's an awful long time to not develop guns to be able to defend yourself against white people.
I'll leave that there.
Well, I don't think their mind was on that.
I'm gonna leave that there. For me, I'm like,
it's just a joke.
Right. These are jokes, but I'll still leave it right there because the other thing that's not in the slide, that is not easy to quantify in a slide, is when you talk about the tribe of Indians that were here, and I promise I would take some time to get the pronunciation right. It starts with a W, it ends with a G, Wamanapeg, which is probably so wrong. One of the things that was interesting to me as I did this work was to learn the type of head trip it is, because the generations of that tribe still exist. And then they go to these schools that have been built up by Americans with these textbooks, and they have to sit in there and hear cataclysmic level lies about this day. A day that meant the change to everything that their people knew into something so horrific. And we're sitting in here and in middle school where they're teaching it in the most mamby-pamby way possible. And then in high school when they try to dig deeper. And so this slide is just a representation of realizing that, yeah, I think everybody knows they came before Columbus, but if you could understand the consequence of an attempt to destroy a peopled place and take land from them, and then what that consequence means, I think the greatest place to start is to understand that whether you're even talking about these different tribes of Indians, Native Americans, that there were people here, not 100 years, not 200 years, not 500 years, but 12,000 years.
Oh yeah, there's so many different tribes that were wiped out. They don't even exist, man.
Right.
My auntie had a map, and it showed all the tribes, and then lets you know which one.
The sacred grounds, and so that you know who sat where, including on up to Canada, because even in Canada, the way that Native population is treated there compared to quote unquote Canadians, Native population there go through some of the same things that disenfranchised populations go through in this country. So I just devoted a whole slide to 12,000 years.
Oh no, yeah.
Well, there's also different things that, like, okay, so the Scandinavians came here before Columbus and met the people and said, you know what, this ain't our place, we're going home.
Right.
The Chinese came even before that. The Chinese had already circumvented the world a long time before Columbus.
I believe that.
And it's kind of interesting because if you look at Chinese history, it's like they went everywhere and went, home is better, and went right back.
Right.
And just stopped exploring. It's really interesting. But yeah, people have been here for a long time. And then, yes, one Spaniard, one of my ancestors, comes in and goes, I like this place. I think I'll take it.
Right. I think I'll take it. That's about it.
Oh yeah.
Let's go
What's
with
our next one? Lies told.
And so it was just like I think all like just the biggest overarching myth, which tries to capture so many things, is that it just was not necessarily this friendly gathering. What is said to have happened is that from the people who were not pilgrims, that's not what they even called themselves. They actually called themselves saints. We'll get to that slide when they got off the boat.
That's
But
a little pretentious.
that's a little crazy. So so this idea that the Indians needed help, and let me just say this to that point. One of the things that I learned was that yes, there was intertribal trouble, and so the W tribe, the main tribe, thought, well, if we ally with these people, we can squelch some of what we're going through
The
around
other, yeah, the other
the tribes.
beefs.
And even though other tribes were like, no, 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 I think we should all ally together. I think what sucks still is that these people were still duped, and the idea that maybe we could they were looking to form an honorable alliance to balance power in the area, not for their land to be stolen, not for them to be wiped out and killed, not for them to at different points be taken back to Europe and be enslaved in Europe. Like over the years, and that it was not a friendly gathering. The Indians came by because they were like, y'all making a lot of noise. Like, what's all the hubbub? What's all the noise? What's the shooting? What's because there was all these festivities that would be associated with a feast day. And so that's kind of what it was. So this idea that, we were breaking bread with, is just a different thing. And we'll get to the difference between the alleged first gathering in 1621 compared to the national holiday that Abraham Lincoln ratified in 63.
And
So
yeah. And the other thing is people got to remember, giving blankets with smallpox was a strategy.
yeah,
It wasn't.
like all of the bullshit, and that being amongst so many of the horrors. Thank you, Stephan, for that reminder. But like just so many of the horrors. But I think for me, having known that there was having
And
sorry.
indoctrination. Sorry, and indoctrination as well.
But I think, but here's what I also think about indoctrination. I don't like you couldn't convince me that Indians were indoctrinated. You could convince me that they were conquered, subjugated, attacked, and threatened, and as a result of any of those things, then shifted some ideals for the sake of survival. And again, based on all the research I've done this last week and definitely the last couple of days, you'd still have a hard time convincing me of that, because the impression I get more is that people would rather die than.
Yeah, they were forced to, one of the things about the different tribes that was universal was the hair, right? Their hair was very sacred. And what they would do to them is they would forcefully cut off their hair. And then they would ship their kids to these schools to learn English,
right,
and study the Bible.
Right, and but you're still talking about things that happened more close to the time frames that we think about in terms of Abraham Lincoln, before and after, like when there were schools. I think just a lot of the research just really, really gave me every day's a school day, just gave me a greater window into the arrival. Once those systems arrived, school and printed Bible and all of these things, and got here, then yes, you just plug in how else can we get the job done on subjugating. But just all the lies told about the day, about everything, about the fact that, and we can go to the next slide. I want to
Well, this picture right here makes me wonder if this is capturing some moment of jealousy that started all the strife. I mean, I kind of see these two guys going, Jeremiah, is that your wife serving apples to those beautifully ripped, non-syphilitic brown men? Why, yes, she is. We must do something about that.
Well, and that's what happens, man, when you meet, especially back in those times, man. There's so many, like I've heard so many of what we call the elders, and I go to powwows as much as possible. Obviously not lately, but I'm in a clan called the Hummingbird Clan, and we listen to the elders tell all these different things that were passed down to them, and it's history in the United States is a very interesting thing, and there's a lot of things that are very scary, very dark, and
Yeah.
a lot of things that are very hidden and left out. There are certain benefits that my family is not privy to because of pride,
Mm.
right? I had ancestors who refused to sign roll sheets
Mm.
when they were given new names because they had to sign it with their legit name, not their Native American name.
Name, but whatever the
It would
foolish. Yeah.
technically you could call it their slave name if you really,
Yeah, I mean that's
technically,
yeah, I get it. I get it.
and
But
some
you're Joey
sign.
now. You're
You know,
Joey now.
I would say I get it. I probably would take some offense to it when I woke up tomorrow, but definitely colonized or but I get it. Like, the joke always people say is the government name, and literally that would be what that is. Literally a government name.
Oh yeah, because
Um,
my great grandpa, I forget what his full name is, but it when we were growing up and my mom told me, it didn't hit me till later on when I learned all these different things. And then what really hit me was when I was on tour and I went to, I'll say it quickly, went to New Mexico and
mhm.
met all these different tribes, and the level of poverty, like it should not be that way
Mhm.
for anybody that had to endure any type of genocide or slavery. It should not be that way for those people. It's disgusting.
It should not be, but we live in a country that's that comes from an ideal of manifest destiny of all the things that that are in these history books. So I show this because this is kind of this common, again, that bullshit that we're constantly fed, as to the atmosphere. I'm sorry, the vibration, the vibe of the day, the energy of the day, and it's just it's nothing
And
to be further
unfortunately,
from the truth.
yeah,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, we still have a group that believes in manifest destiny. They're called Republicans.
Right, very much,
So,
very much.
not to polarize our crowd.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm pretty sure our crowd's pretty left by this point after all of our other shows.
Right, right.
Hey, what do we got here?
So just that, and here's the thing, and I may have been presumptive about this just because I didn't necessarily, I didn't know that it didn't start here. And I maybe look at my typo on England. At least I can see it. But just this idea that I think Americans, they genuinely believe that stuff started here. Like, and again, I think all these things matter because you've got to be able to, when trying to, for anyone who will listen, when you're trying to reteach, then there are a lot of ideas that will have to be pulled apart. It's not just the idea that Thanksgiving wasn't the day you thought it was, but it's the idea that it is not, it was named an American holiday because it was named Thanksgiving Day, but it wasn't, that's a name we came up with. It was a day of thanks. And what they had in England was a day, literally a day of thanks that came around literally to thank God. And the day generally came in September. And so even when some translation of it started happening in this country in the 1600s before the time of, before Abraham Lincoln, it was in September. It was, and it wasn't Thursday. Now it's escaping me what day it actually was, but it wasn't even Thursday. And so the idea, what happened though, one of the traditions in this country that came about at the time of George Washington was that our day of like evangelical, spiritual, religious lectures was on a Thursday. And so ministers and all these people would gather on Thursdays to thank God and to do all of these things and to talk about God and to lecture on religion and and I'm sure proselytizing or whatever it was because all these other things came over here for religious freedom, whatever. But Thursday was the day. So the reason it became a Thursday was Abraham Lincoln decided, which he decided that it would be the fourth Thursday rather. Ulysses S. Grant came along and said it would be the third Thursday, but every time I look at a thing, I'm like, well, it flipped back. No, I take that back. They said that Lincoln said that it would be the last Thursday, and that Ulysses S. Grant said it would be the third Thursday. But I'm like, it's generally the fourth Thursday, and so, and not by my. I didn't check every calendar of my whole life, but you don't have that. You have some years where you do get a fifth Thursday out of November. But that said, I was like, it's not on the third Thursday. Everything seemed to make it seem like Ulysses S. Grant had the last word in that. And I'm sorry, I have a whole slide on the day, but this whole slide was just all about the fact that this is a day of thanks, was something that was celebrated in September's in the UK. And we just kind of piggybacked and adopted this idea because once there was more printed word out there, it began to be clear that we had taken land from people. And when, and some, and in some written form, there was a footnote that just that we were taking land from people, and the people of the day, pilgrims, whatever we were calling them by then, felt some kind of way about being looked at as like conquerors, which is what you were, and who were doing these horrible.
I wasn't there. I'm
So,
Spaniard.
I'm talking about you. I'm just talking about in general. Like when I say what you were, I'm talking about the general you of this narrative of that time. And I'm just like, you're concerned about it, but it's what you're doing. So anyway, but it was just to highlight that the origin of the holiday, because when people, again, when you start trying to educate anybody, you have to first tell them, you have to remind them that it didn't even start here. Like, so that they can so then anything else you tell them you can loosen up enough, brain matter to talk about these other things.
It's kind of like Christmas trees, giving gifts, the Yule log, all that. Didn't really start with Christmas.
Yeah,
it started with winter solstice.
Another mashup. Yeah, another mashup. Like winter solstice. All these another mashup of ideas. Let's see what's the next one.
I think a lot of these things, they come up based off of marketing, right? Like that's why I think it's on a Thursday now, and we kept it a Thursday, is so that you'd be more encouraged to buy all that booze and then sleep it off on Friday, which half the nation gets off.
Okay. But that wouldn't. Okay, I'll leave that at that. I'm just saying that's what decision. It's jokes. We're telling jokes. What's next? So this was just, again, an attempt to talk about, because there isn't a great way to quantify this. There's a picture coming up, but like I feel like, and it is apparent to me, that 80% of what we believe about this day, down to the idea that these people were called pilgrims, is just not true. I think the only thing that's true is that it is a day to thank God, if you want to call it that, which you can do if you believe and love God, whatever, by any name, whatever your walk. We all know you can do that every day. And so this idea that like it's just so many lies like mashed together, and it's just so many like a confluence of inaccurate, of pieces of information, and all spun for building a narrative that is palatable and privileged for those who were putting it together. Yeah.
Well, next thing you're going to tell me is they didn't have belt buckles on their hats for no goddamn reason.
And I didn't really if you have intel on the belt buckles, you could tell it.
I just didn't get that as a kid. I'm like, why you got a buckle on your hat?
The fashion.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah, what's the fashion of the day?
I'm actually going to ignorantly guess that it's the fact that hats weren't made fitted, and you'd have the buckle to pull it so it would stay on your head. I'm going to guess that.
That sounds fun. That sounds
practical, so it's probably true.
It really does. And I don't here's the thing. I didn't really what I couldn't really find was why they called themselves saints. Like I couldn't I thought it was bizarre, because my guess would have been settlers. When I saw that piece of intel that they weren't called pilgrims, I was like, okay, well, settlers or whatever. And it was like, when I read, I was like, they actually call themselves saints. I was like, well, what happened? Anyway, so that's just, again, such a myriad of lies. That's all I can really say. As the other side slide said, all lies told. So that's one. So what's next? And this was it. Just the settlers at the first Thanksgiving. I just drew up this picture because, again, you just have so many like interesting images across the beautiful web about what this thing is, and it's just not any of those things. So this was just, I was like, saints, go figure. What in WTF? That's all I got.
Well, I think it's only fair, though, to call them something they didn't call themselves nowadays, because for so many years we called Native Americans Indians. So I think taking it back the other way, well, you're pilgrims, I think that's okay. Like,
what do you mean? That's what I don't even understand what you just said. Like, what's the conclusion?
so the people from Europe come here, And as Louis C.K. once put it, he goes, "Okay, so this is India. You guys are Indians." No, this isn't India at all. Actually, this is America. We're and then they would say their tribes names. They go, "No, you're Indians, and that's what we're going to call you from now on." And so I think it's fitting. These people call themselves saints, but throughout history, we go, "No, you're pilgrims. You're pilgrims from now on."
I see. So just appropriate something. But I think what sucks about it is by any and every name, they're still looked at as the heroes of the story. And so so thank you for that, Dan. But I still think, like whatever, call them whatever, call them thieves and robbers, killers, Anyway, I'm sorry.
I definitely call it that because actually, if you look at the systems that Native Americans had, I would have probably been a happier person with those systems. We would probably call them socialist or communist nowadays, but they were actually pretty good systems.
Very, very honorable. It's interesting because one of the things that I was on with Zooman Corey, who I was going to be our guest a while back, and we were on talking about we were talking a little bit about Biden, but just to say that with mask, he was like, when he visited China and he was doing comedy like for the troops in China, because he wasn't aware that, and this was obviously long before COVID, he wasn't aware that people wore masks in general in China. And so when he asked somebody, well, why are y'all wearing masks? Because he kind of was, I think he threw it back as a joke to Michael Jackson and, da 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 da. And they were like, no, like if people are sick themselves, they don't want other people to get sick. So they wear a mask to protect their fellow citizens. And because there's an honor within the culture. And so to your point, I'm sure that they had systems that were, based on a level of honor and a level of just all kind of goodness is all I can say. Sorry. So we, you just look at it. And the other thing that was powerful about Joe Biden's speech, I'll take it there for just a second, is he said, there are things that we disagree about. But there's also, like, it's just the right thing to do, that if you care about your fellow Americans, to wear a mask. Like if you don't want people to get sick, there's just wear a mask. Like it's not a political thing. It's, do we care about one another?
It's really not that much to ask.
Right.
It really isn't. Like any excuse you make, I find it hard to breathe. Well, you are a little bitch and you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You read it wrong then.
Don't go run a marathon. What are you doing?
By the way, tell us in the comments how much you hate that I said that. It fuels me.
So what do we got next? What's the next one?
And our final slide.
So, and I actually browbeat this earlier, just that Thanksgiving, I'm trying to, I know why Thursday was chosen. I can't, darn it. I'm trying to remember how November got chosen. How did we trade the days? That's like the thing. Let me just see if I can tell us right quick.
Can I make a real quick guess while you're thinking? Because
yes.
part of it might be that the harvest time in Europe might not be working with the harvest time of America.
That makes sense.
Because this is the cornucopia comes from the fact that it's a harvest of a lot of different vegetables and other foods. And this turkey, by the way, looks like he's saying, "Eat all this other shit, not me."
And here's the thing: it doesn't, and because the other thing is too. Oh, and actually, let me give this bit of intel that I didn't do right, because there was Thanksgiving before Abraham Lincoln. George Washington actually created it, but it became a national holiday under the term of Abraham Lincoln. But there isn't. I'm going to have to go with you, Dan, because there isn't readily, and I'll have to just keep digging further. I was so obviously just excited to share all this other good, unearth all these other lies, and there's so much more. My gosh, like there is. I think I'm still not over the fact that Europeans came here and took Native Americans to Europe and enslaved them over there. Like that, I think that's of the many things that I read, that confounded me greatly, because I was like, no one's ever told me that before. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just like, just so many lies, just this idea that they came here. Like, we all know, I'm woke enough to know that they stole land, the like you said, Stephen, the malaria blankets. But the idea that y'all came here, took people back and made them, like, that just it blows my mind, because obviously as an African American, I understand slavery. I understand that you went somewhere and you wanted labor so bad that you took a ton of people over several hundreds of years to this country. But the idea that you would come here where somebody already is and then manage to take them back to your country and enslave them there. Like that's like, well, I guess it is pretty much like the slave trade, because again, you had all these European countries that took slaves not only to America, but to Brazil, and to all the other islands throughout, the Caribbean and to South America and to, all these places. So I guess it is pretty much, but I think it's, that's what it is though. I've never read where, and I'm sure it's because there were slaves in England. Like, I guess I've never thought about the fact that we were taken. It's just always this idea. There's more emphasis even in the slave narrative that we were taken around the world. No one talks often about Black folks or Africans being taken to France or to Italy or any of these other places. If we were taken, I'd have to. It's just there's just the way that the story is given to us, and this to me highlights, even at your wokest, there's just stuff that you may not know.
So I've heard that the reason why we have a bigger understanding of our slavery here in this nation is that there was actually government backing and a large backing from leadership. Whereas in Europe, the reason why they were able to abolish slavery without an actual civil war or anything like that is because those slaves were privately, I mean, it doesn't make it any better, but they were privately got, and the government just said, well, it's not illegal, so you can do it. And eventually the government just said, okay, we're going to make it illegal. And people are like, oh, all right. And it wasn't as embedded in the culture or the economy as it was here in America.
Right.
And so they didn't have to, shoot brother versus brother or anything to get over it.
Right.
And nowadays we have a form of slavery. It's just called work visas for people coming from third world countries, and we underpay them and make them live in apartments of 5 at a time. And it's really sad. And the thing is Bernie Sanders, actually, he was criticized for talking about how, he was saying work visas are bad and stuff. He was like, oh, you're against immigrants. He goes, no, I want you to pay them the same as an American.
Yeah.
I want you, if you bring someone here to work, you pay them the same as an American. Because, by the way, if you're someone worried about your American job, every person working here on a work visa is bringing down your salary too. If they're getting underpaid, they're finding a way to underpay you. And so the best thing is not to say, no, people can't come here, but to stop making citizenship so hard to get that it creates a place where people are being exploited from other countries like that.
Phew. I mean, facts. So here we are, you guys. Like, again, as I browbeat it early, and I'll wrap it here for sure. Like, it's very unclear. Like, George Washington declared it to be Thanksgiving on November 26th in 1789. And then when Abraham Lincoln came along and declared it a national holiday, he declared it a national holiday and just declared that the last Thursday of the month would be it. And then again, this idea that Ulysses S. Grant made it the third Thursday still doesn't make any sense, because it's the fourth Thursday, which is most of the time the last Thursday of the month. I've experienced some fifth Thursdays, but I get that the fourth Thursday is because, for example, if Thanksgiving falls on the 23rd, you are likely to have a November 30th in which you'll have a fifth Thursday, Yeah. So that part, like I'm reading, I'm like, why does this read this way? But anyway, ultimately we have what we have: a day to eat and drink, and prayerfully with progress begin to understand that the basis of why we do it is shitty, but just be grateful for time spent with family, and that the basis for why we do it is untrue, absolutely, on so many levels. And something that you highlighted, Dan, when talking about the work visa issue, is just another reminder of the work that we have to do in this country around equality, around diversity, around harmony, around all the good humane things that people believe we can be. And
we need to recognize the humanity in others and understand that they suffer just as much as we do.
And not exploit it, not say, okay, because you come from a country where you're just grateful to have some modern things that you don't have over there when you're here, I'm going to pay you half the salary of an American. It's really messed up, and it happens so many times, and it shouldn't happen.
Right. But I think the last word on it is also just that all of the things that we do now, even as you talk about that work visa, is rooted in centuries, millennia of this idea that people not like you should be subjugated. And with that as the taproot of the tree that you built in terms of how you see this, there's gonna always be a problem. I think we can't turn back the hand of time. God knows I wish we could. We can't turn back the hand of time to necessarily change history, but we can certainly realize, if we're willing, we can realize how much of how we rock out today is based in all of this. And if you don't begin to dismantle the way that we look at this as a part of how you go forward, it's not going to be as easy as I think it could be to really go forward, reimagined, better, and different.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, you have to, because you admit the past doesn't mean you dislike where you are. You don't hate America because you're willing to admit that some bad things happened here.
Mm-hmm.
It means that you're willing to actually learn from those things and not repeat them.
Right.
Yep.
And so when people get mad at, like, I'm going to mess up the date because I've been drinking here. Is it the 1819 project?
Is it the 18? I want to say there's a Lincoln Project and it's 1619, I believe.
1619. Okay, so yes, see, I knew I get it wrong. Mixing the numbers around. But people are upset. They go, "Oh, people want to say America's bad." No, we want to admit to things that happened in the past that we don't want to happen again. And the only way to do that is for people to know these horrible things happened.
Address it.
Admit them.
Yep.
Don't guilt the people today because they weren't there, but at least let them know we don't want to become that again.
Yep.
And it's very important. And you shouldn't. Well, let's see if I can say this. I can't stand the pride where you pretend that your ancestors might have never did anything wrong. Because they probably did. So just learn from it.
Learn from it. And I think here's the thing. I'm not going to say I don't want people to feel guilty, but what I don't want, which happens often, is an unwillingness to acknowledge that you still benefit from how this thing was built. What I don't want is, and I mean, and if you don't want to tip over into guilt, I'm okay with that. But what I do need you to do is then tip over into a wider understanding of the difference between the privilege that you have, even if your bank account is in the negative, compared to what other groups have experienced, and then the propaganda that has been built on their existence and their time in this country. And of course, I'm African American, but all, like, the things that we did to Chinese, to all people, but chief amongst them, obviously, because I'm African American. But that's my issue. Like, if you don't have to feel guilty, but if you're still unwilling to acknowledge the difference that it makes and the far-reaching consequences into the present moment that had for both of us, the far-reaching consequences that you have what you have because it was built that way, and the far-reaching consequences that groups of people don't have what they need because of that, then I'm still going to want to fight you after school at 3:00.
Oh yeah, because people have to recognize and realize that the blood, sweat, and tears of immigrants is why we have such beautiful things here. Why there are so many things, right? It was built on the backs of those people. Show some damn respect.
Right. Show some love,
And how can you grow if you don't acknowledge the suffering of others? Shame on you. You have to. You should want to too.
And work towards the day where we're not suffering for those things as much. Like, well, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of suffering because I guess you got to wake up to go to work, which makes me suffer. But there shouldn't be this level of unequal suffering for any group. There shouldn't be one group dominating another. We should be working together. And you don't get that way by pretending that we've always worked together. No, there's got to be some. You got to understand that, like you said, Dana, there's the land giveaways in the 1800s and things like that were only given to certain people. That's still affecting families today. That wealth that gets passed on, it's still affecting them. So a
little side note, but my grandpa, when he went into the Japanese internment camp, he trusted his neighbor, to when he signed over the land, because he couldn't keep it because they were Japanese. That his neighbor promised him, "I'll give you back your land." right? But it took so many years for them to get out, and I don't remember if the guy died and the son took over the property. I don't remember exactly the ending completely, but they were never able to get it back. And this is acres and acres and acres and acres. And now you have all kinds of property on that land that we owned, right? And we reap no benefit from it. So, that's just, realized, people took advantage of immigrants and did very devious and thievery, if you will.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so we'll, prayerfully, hopefully this will shed a little light on some things that people will, will want to consider and share, in bits and pieces and parts. Wow. But anyway, thanks you guys. I had a blast. I definitely, like I said, wanting to. There's more to tell. We, in years to come, we can keep talking about the myths of Thanksgiving because there's just so many more. There's so many.
Oh yeah. Let's all be thankful we're alive and able to get together and still have family members, kicking and breathing with what's going on, in the pandemic. That's still sure will be going on for a while, unfortunately.
And I hope all of you that are have a family member or you yourself are affected by the pandemic. I hope things go well for you and you get out of it fine, and we can all hang out next year with a beer in our hands. Unless you don't drink, then I'll give you a soda or something. But yeah.
Amen.
Have some other stuff too.
A little bit
or
of
not.
this
Or
40,
no.
man. This 40.
No. I'm not going to Oregon. No. But yes, thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We love and appreciate all of you, and we will see you soon. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.